Hey there, it's Tash, and today I am here to bring you my November TBR. And this November I am going to attempt to participate in Nonfiction November. Nonfiction November was started by Gemma and Olive, whose channels I will link below. And basically, Nonfiction November is a month where we're encouraging people to read more nonfiction. So if you don't really read nonfiction, maybe just read one piece of nonfiction. If you read one piece of nonfiction a month, try for two, and so on. Just try to read a little bit more. So it doesn't really, if you want to go crazy, you can go crazy, but if you don't want to, just read one. But for those who would like to compete in challenges beyond just read nonfiction, they also have 4 categories, and they are read a nonfiction book that is new, important, fascinating, and controversial. I don't really read nonfiction, but I'm going to try to read 4. I'm going to try to fit in all the categories. So the books that I have picked for Nonfiction November are, the first one is for the category fascinating, because I find it fascinating. Maybe no one else does, but I do. And that is Ron Chernow's Alexander Hamilton, and this is a biography of Alexander Hamilton. You probably know about Alexander Hamilton through the smash hit Broadway musical Hamilton. So if you don't know, I feel like you would know, but Alexander Hamilton was one of America's founding fathers, and it just documents his life, his childhood, his move to New York, his political struggles and all that jazz. And this was the biography that inspired the musical, as you can see by this sticker here. And that's also a not so secret reason why I'm reading the book, because I like the musical. If you like the musical and want to read nonfiction, go for his biography. The musical will help you piece together some bits. And it's really interesting to compare the musical and the book together. It's really, really fascinating. I'd like to do a review on this eventually once I finish the book. And you may be able to tell from the tabs that I have started this book. I started this book 9 months ago, and I am on page 618 out of 800 pages. So I'm a good chunk in, but I would like to get this finished so I can say I read it and do a review and have some thoughts about it. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm also listening to the audiobook. Yeah, so hopefully I will get this done. The next category I'm going to talk about is new, and this is kind of a cheat bit because this book isn't new. These ideas aren't new. I've owned this book for like 2 years now, and I still haven't read it, and it is Existentialism Is Humanism by, I don't know how to say his name, Jean-Paul Sartre? In my brain, I just call him Sartre, but that's not his name, so we can be on first name basis, and I'll just call him Jean-Paul, so I don't butcher your last name, I'm sorry. So Existentialism Is Humanism is a book that is, not surprisingly, about existentialism, which is a branch of philosophy that proposes that nothing intrinsically or is predictated to have great meaning, so it kind of rejects that there's any inherent meaning to life, which sounds depressing, but I'm pretty sure that Jean-Paul puts forward that we make our own meaning through our actions, so that seems to be uplifting. I haven't read any Jean-Paul, even though I've owned this book for a while, so I'm hoping that counts as new. It's a new author for me, haven't read him. This should be just a nice quick read. It is a book that is based off a speech that Jean-Paul gave, and they transcribed it and wrote it down and then sent it out in a book. Yeah, and it's just kind of a reaction to a lot of the criticisms people had about existentialism, so it promises to be good. Yes. Next category is controversial, and for this I do not own what I'm choosing to read in book form because you can find it on the internet for free. And why buy a book when you can get free books from the internet? and that is Rene Descartes' first meditations on philosophy. And this is just, I feel like a lot of the people I talk about everybody already knows about, but Rene Descartes was a French philosopher in the Enlightenment period, and his first meditations on philosophy are about him trying to figure out which of his beliefs are true and which of his beliefs are not true, and if we can trust anything from our senses and the outside world. And this was really controversial at the time, not so much now, but at the time this was when tradition reigned really strongly, and you know, you kind of just did things because the church said so or because it was tradition. He played a really big role in the Enlightenment period, which kind of rejected all these traditions and put emphasis on logic and reasoning and finding like new, more solid ways to do things. So he kind of rejects everything that he has thought up till now, and he starts at the very beginning and sorts through what he knows and kind of builds on that through logic, which sounds really radical. His processes were really radical and controversial for the time, even though what he was saying wasn't really controversial. He was kind of just using logic to prove that God exists and we should trust God, which kind of fits in with the pre-Enlightenment era, but the way he went about that was really controversial and really like influential, blah blah blah, blah blah blah. He's actually the guy who said, "I think, therefore I am," which, whew, it's a bit heavy, man. Yes, philosophy. So you may have heard that. Now you know who said that. It was Rene Descartes in his first meditations on philosophy. So that shouldn't take too long either. So hopefully I'll get to all of these. And the last category I want to read about is the important category. And I don't have the physical book right now because I'm going to get it from the library, but I don't want to leave my house. So I'll get it in a bit later, probably tomorrow, but not right now. So you can just imagine. So the last book I chose, this was James Baldwin's Notes of a Native Son. And James Baldwin was an African-American writer, and he wrote a lot about racial problems in America and like structural inequalities. And I have actually read one of his books before. I read The Fire Next Time, which I really adored. It's really short. Please read it. Please read it. The Fire Next Time is so good. So basically, I'm assuming that Notes of a Native Son will follow a somewhat similar theme, where he talks about problems in America and how he views them and how he thinks they should be attempted to be solved. And obviously that's kind of an important topic, and I feel like I learned a lot, and I feel like he presents a view that I don't really see a lot. And like, besides that, he's a really beautiful writer. His writing is just so incredibly moving and like compelling. You can like watch some videos of him speaking on YouTube. He's just such a great like orator. He's just amazing. So yes, those are the books that I hope to get to this coming month, and I hope that you participate in Nonfiction November as well. All right, goodbye.